Do you like horror movies? One of the aspects that most attract viewers to this genre is the relationship of everyday situations with bizarre or supernatural elements. When you watch a horror movie, you end up with the feeling that the same could happen to you if you are unlucky enough. But we find comfort in the knowledge that despite feeling somewhat disturbed, the stories told are part of a very distant or impossible reality. So we fully immerse ourselves in the movie knowing that everything is just fiction, right? Could the scripts for films like Saw and The Silence of the Lambs come true in the hands of a serial killer? In fact, hasn't that already happened? In today's video, I will tell you 4 real stories that are more disturbing than any horror movie. I'm Stelian Edgar, and this is Fear the Weird. Do you believe there's more to life than what we're told? Do you have burning questions about hidden and controversial topics? Subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification to unravel the mysteries of life and the universe. A couple decided to adopt a girl and realized that she could be more dangerous than she seems. This is not the synopsis of the 2009 orphan film. This is a true and much older incident. A 1992 documentary called Child of Rage details the life of Beth Thomas, a 6-year-old girl who said she wanted to kill her adoptive parents. According to her, they locked her in her room every night so she wouldn't stab them in their sleep. However, Beth's aggressive behavior was not restricted to her parents. She also mistreated the family dog, even killed an entire bird's nest, and sexually abused Jonathan, her younger brother. On one occasion, he was taken to the hospital after Beth repeatedly hit his head against the concrete floor. She was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder, a condition in which a child has difficulty forming a healthy emotional bond with his or her parents. It is usually caused by some affective trauma. And trauma was what Beth and her little brother knew the most in their early years. Both lived in extreme neglect by the age of 19 and 7 months respectively. Beth was sexually abused since birth, while her brother developed a deformity in his head from being left in his crib all day. After many unsuccessful psychiatric treatments, a therapist named Connell Watkins volunteered to use an unconventional method with Beth, keeping her in her own home for what she called intensive behavioral role treatment. Surprisingly, the results were positive. Beth had recovered and managed to develop feelings of empathy and remorse, and currently works as a therapist for families with children who suffered from the same disorder as her. This would have been a happy ending to the story, but Connell Watkins was eventually arrested for the accidental death of a 10-year-old child in one of her intensive therapies. This is the story of Issei Sagawa, a Japanese man who grew up in a family where it was not possible to talk about sex education under any circumstances, according to his own reports. Because of the taboo on the topic, Sagawa never quite knew what to do when he got to his teens and all the hormones that come in adolescence. His sexual impulses started to deviate from normal very early, since the boy himself had to find his own way to relieve tension. And he found it through cannibalism. In 1981, after moving from Japan to France to pursue a doctorate in literature, Sagawa asked a fellow student to go to his home to translate some poems. While she read the papers completely unaware of his intentions, Sagawa pulled out a rifle and shot her in the neck. He spent 2 days sexually violating the body while trying to eat parts of it. When he tried to get rid of the girl's pieces in a river, Sagawa was caught in the act. When the authorities arrived at his apartment, he simply said, "I killed her to eat her meat." His confession failed to keep him in prison for a long time in Paris. The 2-year sentence was disregarded after psychologists claimed he was insane at the time of the crime. The cannibal had returned to his native country to await judgment. However, French courts refused to hand over important documents to resolve the case. The attempt to adjudicate him for murder did not work, and Sagawa remains free on the streets of Tokyo to this day. Sagawa is now an underground celebrity in the country. He released books about the 1981 murder and even participated in a porn movie. At 70, he claims to definitely still has cannibalistic desires. According to him, the desire to eat people becomes very intense around the month of June, when women start to wear less clothes and show more skin. This is not the name of a horror movie. Dr. Satan is how the Dr. Marcel Pelliot became known, accused of at least 27 murders during the Second World War. Diagnosed with psychiatric disorders still in his adolescence, Marcel had his life marked by cubes and crimes. Offenses include robberies, false medical certificates, drug trafficking, and illegal abortions. He was even a mayor of a French city for 8 years, from which he took various public budgets. It is easy to see he was a born fraudster, right? And if you think he would have any rest during the war, know that it was precisely during this period that Michael made the most money in his life. But that came at a very high cost. The cube was as follows. Using the pseudonym Dr. Eugene, he pretended to have a route so that French Jews could escape from the Nazis. All they had to do was make a payment of 20,000 francs per person and he could get a ticket to South America. However, there was one condition, that they should be vaccinated before the trip so they would not get sick when they arrived. And so, Dr. Eugene and his 3 partners took the Jews to a place where they were in their control and injected their vaccine that was actually cyanide. After killing them, he stole their belongings and got rid of the bodies by throwing them in the river Seine, corrodes them in lime or cremates them. His crimes were only discovered after several years when firefighters were called in to pull out what would be a possible fire in the chimney of Marcel's house. When they entered the basement, they found a wood stove filled with human remains. That's how Dr. Satan was convicted of dozens of deaths and sentenced to guillotine, but not before declaring himself innocent and pretending to be part of the French resistance, saying that those victims were all Germans. The waters of the sea tend to bring all kinds of things. Animals, garbage, objects, among other things. But what we don't expect to see are human body parts. This occurrence began on Vancouver Island when the first human foot appeared on the coast. There have been 13 incidences to date, the last being recorded in December 2017. Did you find it strange? Brace yourself, it gets worse. No other parts of the body appeared on these occasions, only the feet and the leg bones still attached to them in some cases. They were all wearing shoes, which has helped to preserve them for all the years in the water. And to make it even more intriguing, none have any signs of criminal activity. They all simply detached from the rest of the body due to the decomposition, which doesn't come close to explain why only feet appear on Vancouver Island, or why they only appear there. But who are these people who lost their feet in the sea? This led to a combination of speculations and sensible explanations. Some people have been identified as possible suicide cases in the region, but there is also the possibility that they were killed by the 2004 tsunami in Asia. It is said that more cases will likely happen in years to come. It would make less sense if they suddenly stopped showing up. What did you think about these real-life horror stories? Leave your comments below and subscribe for future videos. See you next time.